The difference is, though, flexibility in the workplace is not synonymous with, working from home, remote work. Flexibility in the workplace is where you're offering people an opportunity to change their schedule a little bit.
Welcome to the Multifamily Mind with Steve Wunsch, a podcast dedicated to thought leadership in the multifamily universe. During each episode, we'll explore topics like leadership, diversity, equity, and inclusion, prop tech, or whatever's on the mind of our multifamily expert. We are creating a thought leadership community where ideas are explored and shared in order to bolster multifamily owners, operators, and those who have a heart for the multifamily industry. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to this episode of the Multifamily Mind. I'm your host, Steve Wunsch. Excited to bring this episode to you today because I have a woman that you all see often in social media. The fabulous Stephanie Anderson is joining me today. Stephanie is the Senior Director of Communications and Social Media at Grace Hill. She's got over 16 years of property management experience, and she brings a wealth of knowledge specializing in revenue management, creative marketing, and employee development. She was NAAEI's 2015 Designate of the Year and CAM of the Year in 2013. You all know she's a powerhouse speaker that shares her industry knowledge, motivates professionals to greater success, and disrupts the status quo with out-of-the-box ideas and trends. She's a graduate of Virginia Commonwealth University, where she majored in English literature and women's studies, and she holds a Virginia real estate license and is a certified national instructor for NAAEI, which is the National Apartment Association's Education Institute. Stephanie, welcome to the Multifamily Mind.
Hey, Steve. Thank you so much.
You bet. I am so glad we finally we live in the same dang city. And the only time we can get together is virtually.
It's really embarrassing, to be honest. We've got to fix it, which we are.
We have to fix it. But I tell you, you are someone I admire because I don't know how you keep all the plates spinning that you have spinning at any one given moment. Not only are you everywhere socially, it's almost like Where's Waldo between you and me. But you're all over the place, which I love. You're doing so much good work for Grace Hill, which is amazing. And they're such a wonderful partner. And then you've got a family. I mean, how many kids do you have? 4?
I have 4.
You have 4 kids and a husband and all of this other stuff. So that's a great place for us to start. How in this heck do you manage not to lose your mind on any given day?
Well, thank you for the compliment, first and foremost. I actually get that quite a bit. People will say, I don't know how you do it. And I always like to follow up and say, we do it because that's the only option that we have. And we push forward. But it is a little chaotic. I always say it's coordinated chaos with me because I've got 4 children who are all actively involved in sports and extracurricular activities, and they're all on the go. And I mean, we're talking about ages 18 months up to age 14. So a pretty wide age span.
Wow.
Yeah, 18 months to 14. So big age span there. I have a husband who is super hands-on, and I'm so grateful for that. He is just willing to pick up the pieces when I can't, help in ways when I'm not there. And just we're very much a team and a partnership. And so that is truly helpful. And then my mom is such a blessing to our family and helping. So I just, it really does take a village, and it takes even those who aren't physically helping with my children, the people that you work with, the people like you, Steve, who check on me and ask how I'm doing. Those are all really important factors that kind of help to ensure you're doing okay. And it helps me to slow down sometimes. As you know, you'll text me, and sometimes it takes me a day or 2 or 3 to text
That's okay.
back.
I know how busy you are. What's your husband's name?
Andy,
kudos to you, dude. You're an amazing father, husband, and supporter. And I think that's wonderful. There's so many moms and dads out there in the multifamily universe that are kind of in a similar situation as you, Stephanie, with, multiple kids, multiple ages. I remember working with Ryan Perez at Capital Square Living, and she's got, kids that are junior high and high school, and her daughter's a swimmer. And she's at the pool at 4 a.m, and I got to give a shout out to all the parents in the multifamily universe that are out there that are doing what they're doing. Because boy, I tell you, I come from a household where it was a mom and a dad, and dad worked during the day and mom was home during the whole day. She was a stay-at-home mom, and those are kind of dying breed, disappearing almost to be extinct.
It really is. We took a cruise early January. So my family and I took the kids on their first cruise for the new year, celebrating it out on the ocean. It was fantastic. A little challenging at times with, so many kids. I think I needed a vacation from the vacation.
Yeah, seriously.
But nonetheless, we met some of the most incredible employees on that cruise. And one of the ladies' names was Vanessa, and she worked in the cafe area. And she was always so just mind blown that I had 4 children and that I worked full time. She's from South Africa. And she said, no, like we don't do that in our culture. You being a mom of 4 should be at home and taking care of the kids. She goes, you are a powerhouse to be able to do what you do. And I thought, what a blessing. Because sometimes I think we get worn down and we say, I have to go to work. I have to do these things, but I actually get to. So I get to love my kids. I get to love my career. I get to blend the two together. And I get to have flexibility in the workplace, which is so key.
Yeah, that's a perfect transition, because I was just about to say, let's talk about flexibility in the workplace. I remember last year at NAA, I sat in a session, and it was, I can't remember all of the speakers, but Julie Blakey from Equity, Jonathan Osteen, who's actually consulting now, was kind of moderating this panel of experts. And they were talking about flexibility, and Equity actually has a 4-day work week in New York, in that market, and it's doing really well. At least it was last year, June, when we were at NAA. What are you hearing? I mean, because you've got your radar on all things multifamily. What are you guys hearing at Grace Hill, and what are you hearing personally, Stephanie, in regard to how the flexible workplace is becoming more of a desired commodity in the multifamily space?
I definitely think people are more open to the conversation. When I first brought up flexibility in the workplace, it was 2020, right before the pandemic hit, beginning of the year. And I started talking about, let's redefine the 9 to 5, because we've redefined all the other traditions that are out there. So why are we still thinking that everybody's supposed to work this 9 to 5 shift? And when I brought it up, people were like, like that, because it wasn't that they didn't think that that was something that should happen. It was, that doesn't make sense in multifamily, because we serve residents. We take care of people's homes, which is a very intense situation. We're there for all of their biggest monumental moments in their resident life cycle, and we have to be there. So how could we possibly offer flexibility in the workplace? Now, corporate, whole different ball game, right? People say, yeah, we can work 4 days a week, or we can, have a lot of flexibility, work from home, all of those things. But how is that applicable to what we do each and every day? And, then they say, well, let's not even touch maintenance, because maintenance clearly couldn't work from home. The difference is, though, flexibility in the workplace is not synonymous with working from home, remote work. It's not one and the same. So it's not to say that flexibility in the workplace is where you're offering people an opportunity to change their schedule a little bit, alter it so that it doesn't affect the business, because business is obviously, you have your core business hours, and that's important to deliver those expectations for your residents. But you also don't want to miss out on talent, because think about all the people that are caregiving. I know, Steve, that one hits home for you. And, caregiving is so important. Kids, regardless, everybody has something going on in their life. And if you truly want them to be present at work, how can we help them to be better when they're at home and take care of their needs so that they can be more present in the workplace?
Yeah. While you were talking, I was actually thinking about hotels. I mean, hotels have been doing it for 100 years, where there's somebody there all the time. There's a night auditor who sits at the front desk and goes over reports and is actually there all during the whole evening and overnight shift. And there's concierge people that run, I lived in New York, and I know in that market, concierge roles are very common. In a lot of the East Coast and LA kind of markets where there's those high rises and whatnot. And the expectation is that concierge they're there all day long. And then there's a night concierge that walks the property and does a few things in regard to the security of the building. But why can't we parlay some of those best practices from, hospitality and how they've done it for years and offer some flexible work options for people. I just think we've gotten stuck in this, it's the 1 per 100 rule. I'd like to find out whoever figured that one out. And the whole idea of that, on-site folks have less flexibility than the rest of the world does. So I think there's some, conversations to be had in that regard.
Oh, for sure. And, one of the beautiful things is technology. We really have the opportunity to leverage some of that technology to really assist with taking care of things. Another important thing I've heard quite a bit from operators is the communication. So when we think about communicating with residents and employees alike, it's really important. Residents expect what we allow them to expect from us. So if they were to move into a community that was gorgeous and it was a great location and it was the price point that they wanted, it had all the things, but that you weren't open 1 day a week or 2 days or whatever the case may be, would they still lease there? Yes, they would. And in fact, when I think about some of the recent renter preference surveys that have come out, it's not showing any difference with those types of things. Instead, we have this mindset, this mentality that residents have that expectation. And if we don't give them that expectation, they're going to get upset. They're going to move out, and then the cycle will continue.
Yep. I think it's that whole we've never done it that way before.
Of course.
That's the great idea killer of all ages, is to think that way. And I just think, it's, I had some conversations with Jen Picotti from Swift Bunny. I know you know them well. And, the whole piece around employee engagement is so important. And this is kind of a key nugget there. And then she also talked about, reevaluate your operation. You should do it regularly. I mean, we geared up for COVID and we implemented technology and things that we'd never used before. And it actually proved that, hey, you can trust your people to do their work and they can be remote and do a good bit of it, a lot of the time. Absolutely. And I think now that we've gotten that under our belts, let's sit back and reassess, how we do operations from stem to stern, and see if there are opportunities to tweak. And if you look at your demographic, half of the stuff that happens where I live happens, before 7:00, and they're even closed on the weekends. They're closed on Saturdays and Sundays here, which I had never seen until I moved to Richmond. Mm-hmm. And they're full. They're leasing great. The team is fabulous. They're engaged. They've got a lot of time to do some really great resident events here for us. And it's just, they're looking at their operation a bit differently, which I think is key here.
Well, great. So what I heard from that is that I'm going to get an invite to one of your resident events that are great.
Sure, if you'll come.
But no, I'm
putting the 5 on with you.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. Woo. Maybe this will be a mommy's night out.
Okay. Yeah. Mom needs a timeout every once in a while, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, I love that. I love thinking about things a little bit differently. Richmond's been an interesting market. I actually went to a property downtown that just finished construction today and was checking it out. And it's crazy to think about how much construction has come along. And it is interesting to look at occupancy rates and all the things that are happening around that. But, one thing that's constant when I'm in a room of such wonderful people today, and they're from multiple different management companies, each one is saying the same thing. We're having issues with workforce, getting people into the industry, especially as it pertains to maintenance. And so flexibility is something that does not cost your company a dime, and it shouldn't be a benefit. Yes, you can sell it as a benefit, but we've gotten to the point now, Steve, we're in 2024. It should be a standard practice where every company offers.
It really should. And I hate to refer back again to Swift Bunny, but, some of the stats that she shared all around engagement and having that flexibility, it's a have to have. You have to have that at the company now, and you need to have a good strategy in place that you can publicize if you're going to even get folks to even want to entertain a conversation with you, right? Very true. Strange. Very strange. So also on our radar, for our listeners, when I reached out to Stephanie and said, hey, would you like to be on this podcast? What would you like to talk about? She's like, legit, I can talk about anything. It's really true.
You're never going to let me live that quote down. But true, you and I in a room together, we can talk about anything.
But one of the things you brought up, and it might parlay into into an operator's ability to be more flexible, is AI.
Mhm.
And I know that you at Grace Hill have your pulse on, that specific vein of the multifamily experience. What are you hearing in regard to AI and HI? You mentioned in your forum that you could talk about AI and HI, and I think HI is the human interaction as well, right?
The human intelligence, yes.
Human
Same.
intelligence. So what do you hear that might parlay into helping operators be a bit more flexible with their work schedules, offering employees a bit more flexible environment, because we can take some of that off their plates with what AI is doing and can do?
I think AI has scared people a little bit. It's been exciting in some ways that, hey, I can have someone help me do things, or, if you have writer's block, to help you get started, or to just take some of those small tasks off of your plate so that you can focus on bigger picture items. I also think that AI has scared some people because we've seen some movement in companies where our positions being eliminated, our job duties being changed up. We kind of already talked about the need to change things up as everything's evolving in our environment. And I think that AI is going to be critical, but it will never trump HI. So you've got to have the synergy between the two. And I just love the opportunity that some of the teams, when I think back to all the days on site that I have, and I know you can attest to this, Steve, a lot of the work, I don't want to necessarily call it busy work because it was necessary work, but it was a lot of things that we had to do that really took away from the customer experience. And that ultimately affects the employee experience.
Sure.
So how can we take away some of those tasks using AI? And many of the software companies out there that you're already utilizing have a form of AI within their system. So how do you kind of, take all of that and apply it to what you're already doing so that you can focus on some bigger items and keep your residents happier and we talked about flexibility here. If your office is closed 2 days a week, you can use AI that people can contact, whether it's a chat box or it's, texting or whatever the case may be, so that people handle things so it doesn't have to escalate necessarily if it's not needed to, and your staff still gets that off time. So there's just so much there that companies can do. And I think we're merely scratching the surface here.
Yeah. Even on the maintenance side of things, there are some companies that are being very innovative in their approach to helping to automate some of those processes. Sweet Spot, HappyCo. Just to name a couple. And of course, I don't get any kind of spiff or perk for mentioning these companies, but you mentioned, people got a little bit afraid of AI. And I think that just comes from the Terminator movies where machines replaced humans. That'll never happen in our business because it'll always take a human to be part of the equation.
Absolutely.
It may change how we are a part of the equation, but it'll never take us out fully. And centralization is a big part of, the AI movement. And I think, AI is designed to help do some of the lifting and look at redundancies. How many or tasks that should be automated? Like how many hours do community managers spend generating reports and sending reports to their ownership group or their senior leadership team, when all of that can be automated and that function, once you take that function off the manager's plate, now they have a couple hours more a day where they can, spend time working on the customer experience, spend time working on the employee experience. Lord Jesus, if we don't start, freeing them up so that they can keep their teams engaged and locked and loaded, we've got to do some things. And so to your point, let's look at those possibilities.
Thank you. I totally agree. One of the other concerns I think people have with AI is the legality. Is there liability? Well, let's be honest, anything we do in life has some sort of liability associated with it, and especially in property management, because there is so many moving pieces to it.
Good stuff, my dear. We could talk for another 2 days and not run out of topics to share. So I'm wondering, would you mind if I extend an invitation for you to join us again for another episode sometime?
I would be truly honored. I really would.
Great. Well, I look forward to that, and we'll look at some dates in the future. We've got a pretty solid lineup of
I
speakers.
bet you do. You got a waiting list. I know it. I know.
Well, I'm hoping to grow it because right now we're getting this thing off the ground. But I am so pleased that you said yes to the dress and agreed to spend some time with me. I hope we get a chance IRL to get together in real life. But
That's right.
before I let you go, what we do on this web podcast is
Sorry,
we
I'm
have
nervous.
one question. No, don't be nervous. We have one question that we ask every guest that makes their appearance here on our show. And we use a word here at the Multifamily Mind called audacious. The word is audacious.
Okay.
And we define audacious as extremely bold or daring, reckless or fearless, such as a audacious explorer. I'm going to climb that mountain. I'm going to spelunk that cave, no matter how dangerous it is. It has to be done. I have the passion to do it, so I'm going to do it. So I want to ask you, Stephanie Anderson, what is your most audacious take on multifamily?
Oh, okay. Most audacious take. So when I'm thinking about that definition, I'm going to think about the part that's bold, because that really stood out to me when you said that. So when I think about something that's bold, it doesn't necessarily have to be new. I want to say setting boundaries in the workplace. Now, this is going to go along the lines a little bit of flexibility. How many times do people ask you to do something and you say yes? Mm-hmm. I'm a yes person, right? My natural reaction is yes, because one, I have FOMO. I don't want to miss out on anything, but two, I just want to help others. And when you have such a servant heart and you want to help others, you typically always say yes. What ends up happening is your cup gets empty pretty fast that way. And I've learned that over the years, and I'm still learning that, right? That's a hard thing to change. But really, audacious is saying employees set boundaries in the workplace. That's clear communication. That's talking to your supervisor about what your expectations are, how you want to grow, what you love most about what you do, how you can do more of that in your job, how you need help and support, whether that is physical support on your job, training and those types of support, or maybe you need support because you are going through something from a mental well-being standpoint or lack thereof. So any of that, to me, that's audacious, is for you to really be bold and really use that B word, set those boundaries.
Yeah. Boundaries and expectations. And if you set the bar too high, you have no one to blame but yourself.
There you go.
I've had so many conversations over the last couple of days with people in high level positions in companies just saying, "Oh, I'm so burnt out. How do you do it all the time and stay so positive and happy?" I'm like, "Well, you got to say no to some things."
You do.
Just like as a parent, you have to say no sometimes to your kids. You don't want to, but you have to.
Oh, it breaks my heart. I know they get over it way quicker than I do. But meanwhile, I'm in the closet crying and my husband's like, "What is wrong with you?" I'm like, I had to tell them they couldn't go to a sleepover, But right there with you.
Yeah. If it works at home, it should work at work as well. So those boundaries I love. And I love that you said audacious doesn't necessarily have to be new.
Right.
And some kind of, brand new innovation or idea or thought. So that's very cool. Really love this conversation, Stephanie, and I'm looking forward to our next one. Can't wait to have you back.
Thank you so much, Steve.
You bet. Thank you for listening, everyone. This is Steve Wunsch on the Multifamily Mind, super powered by SalesMail. Can't wait to have you back with us next time. Have a great day, everybody. Cheers. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Multifamily Mind podcast, brought to you by SalesMail, the easiest way to send personalized video via email, text, and CRM. To learn more, go to salesmail.com. And remember, always be audacious. Until next time, I'm Steve Wunsch. Have a great week.